Whoa, this is the illusion part 2 of the getting sober story. Turns out I do have enough storage in my phone. So I'm up at the house, right? And I'm living on this couch now, and these dudes are like, all right, do what I do. If you do what we do, we'll help you, man. And you gotta understand at this time in my life, dude, like, I'm skeptical. I'm like, whatever. But all I know is I don't want what I had going on. They say you get sober the day before you were gonna die. And I firmly believe that. Like, I know, like, if my future was like a photograph, I can remember the night before that last night, it being black, no future. And the weird thing was, like, 3 nights before, I'd actually, like, gotten on my knees up in the swimming pool and called out to God and was like, dude, God, you got to help me, man. I can't do this anymore. I need off this mountain, man. This sucks, dude. This blows. And fortunately enough for me, I was able to see when God showed up in Joe's eyes. So now I'm up at this house, right? And I'm staying in this crazy old house. There's the crazy girl there. And I'm doing it with these other guys. This one other cat was there. Still out there. He's in Florida now. And so I just started doing the deal, dude. And there's a thing you can do, a group that you can join. And so I started doing that with these dudes. And they were like, you do this with us, and you know, this is what we do. So I started doing this thing with these guys, and before that, so it's the third night. I'm in the third night I'm at this house. I'm laying on the couch, and I remember hearing David and Joe and this other dude in the kitchen or somewhere laughing. I'm getting ready to go to sleep, and they're laughing, man, and they're laughing this like hysterical laughter. And I remember sitting there being like, it was almost a foreign sound to me, because I hadn't heard any real laughter in a long time. Like going to the doom room and getting pickled at the doom room, there wasn't any there wasn't that kind of laughter going on. And at the sprues room, there wasn't any laughter. There just wasn't a lot of that kind of laughter. There was like drug and drunk, like sinister kind of laughter, and just like end of the line laughter. But there wasn't this like carefree laughter. And I heard these dudes laughing, man, and I was like, whoa, dude, like, how do you do that? What's that all about? Like, what is that all about? And so I got all comfy on my couch, and this dude, Joe, comes in. Joe, big ex-hockey player, man. Dude, Joe's the raddest, dude. Like I said, he passed away, dude. Joe saved my life, man. Him and David. And so Joe comes in, and see, it's interesting. Joe was the spiritual component. David was like the practical component of this thing I had. These two dudes, man, they took care of me. And this other guy. And so Joe comes in and he starts talking to me, man. I'm laying on the couch. I'm looking at the sailing ship in the background. And why the sailing ship's significant is when we had written our novel in college, dude. I wrote this novel with my buddies, drug-induced madness, and we published this novel. It was all about this time-traveling British man-of-war, which is an old British naval sailing ship, dude. So there was this old British man-of-war on this painting, dude. I was just like, whoa, it's the kaleidoscope, baby. And so I'm looking at this thing, and Joe starts talking to me about, like, I don't remember the details, but he's talking to me about intention and your life's purpose and what do you think life's about and this whole thing. He's giving me one of my, dude, all these videos I make, all this stuff I'm talking about, it's Joe. Joe gave me the knowledge, dude. I'm just passing on what Joe passed on to me so freely. So Joe starts talking to me about this stuff, man. And I'm not joking when I say this. He begins to expand like the Stay Puft Marshmallow guy in Ghostbusters. He begins to expand. And then his skin, he gets all translucent, and then he disappears, slowly fades. The house is already gone, and there's nothing but stars behind him, and he fades, and it's just stars, and I'm out in deep space, and this dude's talking to me about God. He's talking to me about God and my purpose in life, and that it's about being of service, and that God has a mission for me, and so I'm laying there, dude, and all of a sudden I start laughing, man. And he's like, what? He's like, what's so funny? Like, and not in like that weird, like, what's so funny vibe, like, but what's so funny? And I go, I knew it was true. I knew it was true. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, dude, my whole life, I knew this was truth. I've been looking for this, a validation in this. And so I'd been always seeking, like, I grew up in a family that didn't push any sort of religion, wasn't close to it, there was no Buddha statue on the fireplace, no Jesus on the wall, no, Jewish thing on my grandparents were like Catholic, and my dad's side were Anglophiles, so Protestants, and so there was just, then they'd moved to the West Coast in the 60s to escape all that traditional stuff. So like I grew up in a very like, you can have your own thing, man. But what that was like, I don't know. But I didn't know anything. Like my mom took me to like Sunday Mass, and we explored stuff. But there was the big thing is I didn't have a tradition or any sort of foundation in any of it. I was just left to figure it out. Good, bad, it doesn't matter, man. I have no complaints about it, because ultimately it sends me on this journey called my life. And I begin to like seek spiritual data through psychedelics, through marijuana, through alcohol, through books. I read a lot of books, and I'd read a lot of like Carlos Castaneda and all that kind of stuff, man. You can argue that Carlos Castaneda and psychedelics were all weaponized anthropology and all that stuff. Sure, whatever. I remember the Renfield guy and what was it, about the Mayan thing and how you meet people and you're meant to meet them. And I was reading all the stuff, dude, the Bhagavad Gita, all the stuff, man. And I was on this journey to try to figure it out, and I would have these I would use psychedelics as tools. I was never like a vacation trip or a party tripper. I was always very serious about when I took the stuff, dude. And I would see this thing, and I would come back and I would report on this information I had found, jumping over mountains and turning into crows and doing all this, exploring the portal. You could argue that I was exploring demonic portals. I don't know. I don't think so, because I'm not that dude. I think if you're that dude, you are, but I think I was exploring the true, a conduit to consciousness, right? And so I'd gone on this journey, and eventually the whole thing had collapsed on me, I remember seeing the alternate life forms. I was at a Grateful Dead show in Shoreline, dude, and I was tripping on this purple heart acid that the Dead family tried to OD me with, dude, because I was selling my books. I was on my own trip, dude. I wasn't playing with the family, and I was at Shoreline just so shot out on this purple heart acid. And I remember seeing, because Moffett Field's like right next door, I remember seeing interdimensional beings walking through the fence into the Grateful Dead show and being like, whoa. And there was this other dude like, dude, are you checking that out, man? We were both, I'll tell you this, dude, just a side angle. I remember listening to Bird Song. They did this Bird Song, dude, that was so off the deep end while this was going on, dude. I love Bird Song. What a beautiful song. So there was another dude who was experiencing this with me. It's some random dude. We were just sitting in the back up on the top on the grass, dude. And I think it was the Shoreline show where the grass caught on fire because it's built upon an old landfill or something. I remember just like, it was just over the top, dude. 3 nights of Shoreline on Purple Heart Acid, dude, in this old broken down Chevy Nova I'd bought for $100 in Portland. But that's another story. So when Joe did this thing, I always had been looking for this truth that Joe had told me. And he was like, dude. And so it was this confirmation I was in the right spot, man. And I was like, all right, dude. I saw what I needed to say. This Joe was connected. He was a messenger of God coming to direct me on the thing. And so I started doing the sober program, and I got my commitments, and I started doing the work, and I did what these dudes told me to do, and I lived at this place, and I ended up like working there eventually, and the whole thing. And in the process, man, I saw there's like there's like this one other dude who gets sober. He's a full-blown like super cool kid up in the Bay Area. And everybody else that passed through this sober living, like, dude, there was some craziness going on, dude. But all I tell you is, man, I went to meetings while other people went to the gym to work out, and they all got loaded again, dude. You just gotta put your, and I'm not a joiner by any nature, dude. But I'll tell you what, dude, when you know, and I knew I didn't want to go back. I did not want to go back to my lifestyle. And I gotta say, like, it didn't catch immediately. I got 100 days. I went and bought a bunch of blow. And then I was like, nah. I drank one more time. And then New Year's Eve, 2010. So my sobriety date is 01/01/10. Oh yeah, dude, get that, dude, for an illusion. So that's my sobriety date, man. And that was when I've never picked up a drug or a drink since then. I'd stopped. The drinking was really done. It was the cocaine was this thing that I didn't quite understand, because you get caught up in the word alcoholism, not understanding it's a disease of perception and a spiritual malady, dude. So like any mind-altering substance can be classified as alcoholism if you're using them to alter your perception. I don't know, that's why I have real trouble with coffee and sugar and these things, because like the more sober you get, the more you start tripping on what alters your perception. And I began this journey with these dudes, man. Dude, I could tell part 4 through 6 too, dude. Maybe I should, man. Because we're not yet where I hit the button. Because I made the video about hitting the button. We're almost there. We're a solid one more video away. I should tell the story of the hand grenade too. Bird just woke up. So this is The Illusion. I forgot to do in the last video, but I'm signing off.